Welcome to part 1 of our email automation system using Excel VBA. In this video we'll build the full user form design. No coding yet, just clean layout. Stay tuned for part 2 where we add the logic.
Alright, let's get started. I have a quick overview of things we need to go through in order to create this email automation system. First, I'm gonna show you the sheet structure, and then we're gonna design the two forms, the email form, make the design, and the contact form, make that design with all our contacts, our email addresses and departments and names and so on. Then we're gonna code the two forms, and at the end we're gonna test it. Let's get started. So we have the 4 sheets here. Start, where we will have a button that opens the email system, and then we have a settings. With email templates, we can load emails directly into the system. Email systems that sends the monthly report, reminder for upcoming meetings, welcome to the team emails, and so on with attached files. The next thing is our contacts. This is our sheet, our backend sheet for the contact form, where we have our email addresses with names, departments, and cities. And then we have the log sheet here that logs all emails we're gonna send. So that was the sheet structure. Now let's do the fun part, designing the email form. All right, all F11 to go to Visual Basic. Insert UserForm. And here we will insert some elements, but first we can set the height and the width. Let's change this height to 490 and the width to 420. Like so. And let's change the name here. We can just call it email automation form, and the name we call that FRM email sender, like so. Then we can insert a label here and call it email automation form. Let's change the form color to white, and the same with this. Change the size, maybe something like this. The text alignment is by default left. Let's center that so it's in the middle. Also, we can change the color here, something like this. We're probably gonna do more settings, colors, and the size and stuff like that, and code it in the form, but more about that later. Let's change this name to LB for label header, and then we're gonna have more labels here. This one we're gonna call that 2. Who are we gonna send the emails to? Change it to bold here. Copy paste this, and the next one is CC. So who are we gonna set CC to? Then we have email sent. Let's copy paste this one and put it at the bottom, and we can just write email sent, and we're gonna call that label LB status. I'm not gonna rename all these other labels. That's not very important. The ones I've labeled is because we're gonna reference that in the code. 1, 2, 3 here. And the first one, we're gonna call that CP for command button 2. And the next one, CBCC, and the last one CBCC. Then we need a command button that browses through files. So we can call that browse. And let's do 30 in height and 84 in width. Something like this. And let's call it btn browse. Copy this because we're also gonna need a send. btn send. And we need a reset also. btn reset. All right, then we need some text boxes. Let's start with 2. Something like this. And we call that tx for text box, txt 2. And let's do 25. Copy paste this. Put it here. Copy paste it here. And this one we're gonna call txt cc. And this one we're gonna call txt bcc. Let's do the subject line also. txt subject, and the body or the message here. And let's do the height 100. And let's call this txt body. That's what they call in coding language to the email. And then we need to change it because this box needs to have multiple lines, so we are able to write multiple lines. So first we need to find where it says multiple line here. Is on default on false, but we want it to be true. So let's test it out here. When we write something here, it jumps to the next line. You get the point. Then we have attachment. We can call that txt attachment. We can browse for that with this button. Then we need also to do the browse box here. Expand that because we have multiple attached files. So the box need to be expanded. Let's do 60 here. Instead of 18, let's do 60. And then we'll also need to change it to have multiple lines in case we have multiple attachment. Then we need to have a frame here. And we don't need a caption for that. We can call that FM save template. And inside of this, we need to have some things. First of all, we need a text box. Maybe 18 in height. Let's call that txt save template. And we also need a command button inside of it. That's called save template. Let's call that btn save template. Then we also need a checkbox. And we call that in the caption save as email template. And call that CB save template. The last thing we need is also a combo box here. I'm sorry, we're gonna move around with some things when I'm done with the design. But we need a combo box, and let's call it CMB templates. And with this box, we instantly load email templates from the sheet I showed you in the first video. Let's do 18 in height and 250. 250 here. Let me explain a little bit what's the idea. So the idea is when you open this, the contact form that we haven't coded yet will open up and you can attach people to it. Subject line, that explains itself. Message with multiple lines here, the same with attachments. And we can open a dialog box here and you can find a file and it will write it to this. And email templates, you would have email templates here you can choose from, and then it fills out this form automatically. And the point with this is you can save this as an email template. So this box will by default be not visible. And then when you click this box appears and you can save this template with a name here, monthly report, for example, save, and then you have the monthly report as part of your templates. Put this a little bit down here, and then we should be good. Let's move on. All right, let's check this. We did the email form design, and now we're going to move on to the contact form design. Let's go to Visual Basic here. Insert user form. Call it contacts. And we're going to set the settings, the size to 270 in height and 440. Let's do 460. That's the size. And let's just keep it the same color for now. Then we're gonna make 2 command buttons. The first one we're gonna call select. And we're gonna set that to 18 in height and 48 in the width. Something like this. And let's change the color here just to black. And then we can do a white font here. All right, and we're gonna call that CB select. Let's just copy paste this and put this underneath. And we're gonna do 18 height also here, but 90. Something like this. And we're gonna call that, add and close. And the control name, we're gonna call that CB add and close. Like this. Then we're gonna have a text box.
And let's put that as 45 in height and 270 down here in the width. And we need to set multiline equals to true. Let's move these up a little bit. And then we need 4 labels. Like so. Okay, now we need 8 text boxes. And let's set them 18 in height and 90 in width. This one we call TB name, and this one TB department, and this one TB city, and the last one, and this one TB mail. And then the one below, we just write them TB1, TB2, TB3, and TB4. Okay, let's move these things a little bit around. This is just for now, because we need to make space for a list box here. This is the list box that includes all our contacts. And we're gonna call that LB search, or list box search. And let's do 100, 440. So 100 in height and 440. Maybe we should do this a little bit longer here. So now the idea should be that when we click these buttons, this form pops up here, and these boxes should be aligned next to our columns. So that's it. Now we have our 2 forms. Check. The next we're gonna do is email form. The first form we just created, now we are gonna code it. That's it for the design phase. In part 2, we'll start coding the form to send Outlook emails with attachments and templates. Link below or jump to the playlist to watch the full build.